It's
and
Oddworld.
Hey oddballs, I'm your host Jensen, and welcome to episode 53. It's been a full year on the dot, and that is wild to me. And seeing as it's been a full year on the dot, I thought it was kind of appropriate to maybe just go ahead and read from the birthday book. I know that's kind of maybe lame because I know you guys really enjoyed the Q&A from last week. Thank you for listening and enjoying it. I think instead of a Q&A, and I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but I'm going to read from the birthday book because it is July 5th. And this exact time last year is when I relaunched this podcast. And I just feel like this is my podcast's birthday. I want to know what that means. I want to know if it's fitting for this podcast or not. But either way, happy birthday to you July 5th babies. And that's what we're going to do today. So here we go.
Happy birthday.
July 5th people are profoundly sensitive and intuitive types who invest their inspirational visions with great emotional significance. Yet, they are less oriented towards satisfying the demands of others than towards attaining their own emotional fulfillment, although they are nevertheless anxious to please those who surround them. It is this latter quest that typically informs many of the actions of July 5th people, who find it difficult to resist following the lure of a new and exciting person, subject, or venture, to which they may feel innately drawn as well as intellectually attracted. When they alight upon a subject that truly absorbs their interest, those born on this day will typically explore it with acute perception, great energy, and keen imagination, and, when action is required, utilize their strong planning and organizational skills. While they have the potential to make gifted innovators in any sphere where they can follow their instincts unhindered by the restrictions of others, they are especially suited to the freedom offered by creative careers, perhaps in design. The combination of their original approach, charm, and energy makes them extremely magnetic and popular figures who are able to, apparently effortlessly, attract hordes of admirers. But while they are outstanding performers and entertainers in the broader context of social circumstances, they may often shy away from committing themselves to one-on-one relationships, fearing, perhaps, that too intimate a relationship might prove stifling. Indeed, although their love and loyalty to their friends and family members are never in doubt, they need freedom to pursue their personal dreams. Their virtues are imaginative, sensitive, and charming. Their vices are hedonistic, ungrounded, and unsatisfied. Well, happy birthday to you July 5th babies. My podcast birthday sounds not too bad. Said something about creativity in there, and I think podcasts are creative. Take with that what you will, but we're going to move on to stories because even though I didn't do the Q&A like I said I was probably going to, I am still going to give you guys personal paranormal stories because this is pretty much the only time I do unless I spit some crap out whenever I'm giving my opinion on stories. So here are some actual encounters.
This comes from your one and only host, Jensen.
This happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago at my parents' house on Christmas Day. My dad's side of the family always comes over every Christmas Day for dinner. My grandma, my aunt and uncle, and my 2 cousins all come down to enjoy the festivities. Now, I know my uncle has heard plenty of the paranormal stories that have happened at my parents' house, but I'm not really sure if he actually believes any of it. Until maybe now. My mom and uncle and I were sitting on the couch chit-chatting while the rest of the family was spread out between the rest of the living room and the dining room. We were in a pretty deep discussion when all of a sudden my uncle stops us and says, "Did you hear that?" My mom and I looked at each other with a look that said we knew what he was talking about. And one of us replied with, "The voice down the hallway?" My uncle replied with wide eyes, "Yeah, is someone back there?" I giggled and got off the couch and went down the hallway and checked all the rooms. I even peeped my eyes outside just to see if anybody was out there, but nobody was back there. None of the TVs were on, and there was nobody outside. I came and sat back down and told my uncle that there was literally nothing back there. He looked shocked and couldn't believe that he had actually just heard somebody talking down the hallway. My mom and I agreed with him and proceeded to tell him all the different times that we have heard talking and how it's very normal to hear. I think he might be a believer now. Yeah, so this is definitely not the first time that we have heard talking in the house. It's happened prior to. It's just kind of been one of those constant things that happens. It's not like it's all the time, but it has happened enough to where it's pretty normal. And yeah, it is a little spooky from time to time, but I feel like I've gotten to a point where I've gotten used to it. And actually, it's kind of to a point where sometimes your brain hears it, but you're trying to talk and you're talking louder because there's another conversation going on and you're like, dude, you're being rude. Like, I'm trying to have my own conversation and you're being loud. And then you realize that there's nobody else there and you don't know where the talking came from. So if this has ever happened to any of you guys, let me know. And we're going to move on to the next story.
This comes from your host Jensen's mom.
Little things have happened over the years. For example, when you are in our basement and no one else is home, you can hear things moving or walking upstairs. My husband Chris has seen a chair move, although he told himself that it didn't happen. Together, he and I have seen our bedroom door vibrate. More recently, a family picture book flew off the piano while we were watching TV. And no, there was no animal near it. Throughout the years, pictures have fallen. My daughter Shane's toy guitar strummed on its own. TVs have shut off or on. Alexa speaks without being spoken to. I'm sure there are more incidences, but I can't remember them all. Most recently, Jensen spent a Saturday with me. I was cooking dinner, standing at the stove. Jensen was sitting on the other side of the sink, diagonal to me. On the counter, kind of in the middle of us, I had a mug with a spoon in it. As we were talking, the spoon moved quickly back and forth. We looked at the mug and then each other. Did that really happen? I tried to debunk it by dropping the spoon in the mug, tipping it in the mug, and letting it drop. But I couldn't get it to move the same way. One morning, while putting on my makeup, I couldn't find my brush I used to apply my eyeshadow. I figured I must have dropped it, so I looked under my bed, dresser, all the places, and couldn't find it anywhere. I even accused the girls of taking it. About a year later, as I was walking into my bedroom, there, just inside the door, was my brush lying on the floor. I thanked whomever out loud for returning it. We have heard voices over the years. Chris thought I was crazy. One night, we were watching TV, and he made me pause the show. He said, "Do you hear that?" We could hear two men having a conversation behind us. We couldn't make out what they were saying, but it was definitely a conversation. One day after school, I was in my bedroom changing my clothes. I threw my phone on the bed and heard a woman ask, "Hello?" I thought that I had butt dialed someone, so I picked up my phone to apologize. But there was no call on my phone. There has been a lot of activity over the years, and I am sure there are more stories I am forgetting. Yeah, so as I was saying, my parents' house is just a little bit haunted. I mean, it's never been anything malicious, and I feel like there's just been an array of things that have happened. And it's funny because my story, my mom actually had it as well on here about my uncle hearing a voice in the hallway. And she also says that he was clearly a little freaked out and wondered why we were not freaked out. And I just have to laugh because when you live in a haunted house, you just kind of like get used to things. And so things that are completely normal to you, other people wonder why you're not freaking out when it's not normal to them. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you have anything that is like any of these stories or just any paranormal story period, let me know. And well, it's an odd world after all.
Oddballs, go follow us on It's an Odd World After All podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Also, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you have a story you would like to share, email us at itsanOddWorldAfterAll@gmail.com or message us on one of our social platforms. Don't forget to share us with your family and friends. And check out our website, itsanOddWorldAfterAll.com.